There's a tiny switch next to almost every plug socket in Britain. A little rocker set into the wall, glowing red when it's on. Walk into any British home and you'll count dozens of them. Kitchen, bedroom, behind the sofa. And here's the strange part. Almost nowhere else on Earth does this. Americans don't have them. Most of Europe doesn't bother. So why does Britain put a switch on every single socket? The obvious answer is safety. But that's only half the story. The real reason is a habit that outlived the technology that invented it. To understand that little switch, you have to go back to a country in ruins. The year is 1945. The war is over, but Britain is broken. Bombed streets, flattened terraces, entire neighbourhoods reduced to rubble and dust. The government makes a promise to build new homes by the million. But there's a quieter crisis hiding inside those plans, and it lives in the walls. The wiring, because before the war, plugging something in was a mess. There wasn't one British plug. There were several, different sizes, for different amounts of power. A small round pin socket for a table lamp, a bigger one for something hungrier, a chunky 15-amp monster for a heater. Different rooms had different sockets, and none of them worked together. Imagine a drawer stuffed with mismatched adapters, and you're basically living in a 1930s home. So when Britain sat down to rebuild, a committee of engineers decided to fix all of it at once. And the system they invented is the reason that little switch is staring at you from the wall today. Here's how a humble wall socket became one of the most over-engineered objects in your house in 8 steps. Number 1. The plug that ended the chaos. The first job was simple to say and hard to do. One plug for the whole country. In 1947, Britain published a new standard, and it swept away the tangle of old round pin sockets. Out went the mismatched 2, 5 and 15 amp plugs. In came a single 3-pin design that every home would eventually share, and this new plug looked different on purpose. 3 flat, rectangular pins instead of round ones, arranged in a triangle, a long earth pin at the top. It was chunky, deliberate, almost aggressive compared to the slim plugs used abroad. People abroad still mock it for being enormous, but every strange feature of that plug, including the switch that would sit above it, traces back to one decision made in the years right after the war, a decision about copper. Number 2. The copper crisis that rewired a nation. After the war, copper was scarce and expensive. The world had burned through mountains of it, and a broke, rebuilding Britain simply couldn't afford to string thick copper cable through millions of new homes the old way. The old way was called a radial circuit, where a separate wire runs out from the fuse box to each socket, like spokes on a wheel. It works, but it eats copper. So a wartime committee, first convened back in 1942, came up with something clever. Instead of spokes, they ran the wire in a giant loop. One cable leaves the fuse box, visits every socket in the room one after another, and then returns to where it started. They called it the ring circuit. And because the current could flow in 2 directions around that loop, they could use thinner, cheaper wire and still carry plenty of power. The committee reckoned it cut raw materials by around a quarter. For a bankrupt nation building homes by the million, that saving was enormous. But this clever loop came with a hidden cost, and solving that cost is what created the British plug as we know it. Number 3. The monster plug and the fuse nobody else carries. Here's the problem with that money-saving loop. It carries a lot of power. A British ring is protected by a fuse or breaker rated at around 30 amps for the entire circuit. That's fine for the thick wire in the walls. But think about the thin little cord running to your phone charger or your lamp. If something went wrong, that skinny flex could overheat and catch fire long before the big 30-amp fuse in the wall ever noticed a problem. So the engineers did something no other country does. They put a fuse inside every single plug. Crack open a British plug and you'll find a small ceramic cartridge sitting right there behind the pins, sized to protect that specific cable. That's why British plugs are so bulky. They're not just plugs, they're tiny safety boxes. And once Britain had committed to this world of high-power loops and heavy current flowing through every socket, the stage was set for the switch. But the switch itself came from somewhere you'd never guess. Number 4. The ghost of a dead technology. This is the part almost nobody knows. The switch on a British socket isn't really about the ring circuit at all. It's older than that. It's a leftover from the earliest days of electricity, when many homes ran on direct current instead of the alternating current we use now. And direct current has a nasty habit. When you pull a live plug out of the wall, a spark can jump across the gap between the metal contacts. With alternating current, that spark dies almost instantly because the current naturally drops to 0 and back around 100 times every second, snuffing the spark out. But direct current never drops to 0. So the spark doesn't want to die. It stretches into a small hissing arc that can pit the metal, burn the socket, and genuinely alarm whoever's holding the plug. The fix was elegant. Put a switch on the socket, flick it off first to kill the current cleanly, and then pull the plug in peace. And here's where it gets interesting for anyone who studies human behavior. People learn to do this. Switch off, then unplug. Switch off, then unplug. It became a ritual, repeated so many times that it stopped being a decision and became an instinct. Then alternating current took over almost everywhere, and the original danger quietly vanished. But the habit didn't. It was already burned into how an entire nation used electricity. The switch survived because the behavior survived. The technology died, and the ritual it left behind got built right into the wall. If you're finding this as strange as I did, take a second and subscribe. This channel is all about the hidden reasons behind the everyday things you stopped noticing years ago. Now let's talk about why British electricity hits harder than almost anywhere else. Number 5. Why British electricity bites harder. There's another reason the switch felt worth keeping, and it comes down to raw power. British homes run on roughly 230 to 240 volts. Compare that to a country like the United States, where standard sockets run on about 120 volts, roughly half. Higher voltage means a nastier shock and a more violent spark if things go wrong. So, in a British home, having a simple, reliable way to cut the power to a socket without yanking a live plug out of the wall isn't just convenient, it's a genuine layer of protection. Flip the switch and the socket goes dead. You can change a fuse, swap a plug, or deal with a faulty appliance without the mains current sitting there waiting for a mistake. In a lower voltage country, that extra step feels like overkill. In a higher voltage one, it starts to feel like common sense. But here's the twist that surprises most people who look into this. For all that careful safety logic, the switch was never actually forced on anyone. Number 6. The switch was never really the law. You'd assume something this universal in Britain must have been mandatory from day one. It wasn't. When that famous plug-and-socket standard first arrived in the late 1940s, the switch was treated as optional. A separate specification for switch sockets came along in the 1950s, and the two were only fully merged into a single standard in the 1960s. Which means, for years, plenty of brand new British homes were built with plain, switchless sockets, exactly like the ones abroad. If you've ever pulled an old socket off the wall in a mid-century British house and found no switch on it, that's why. The switch didn't spread because a rule book demanded it. It spread because people wanted it, expected it, and had already spent decades quietly flicking one off before unplugging anything. Manufacturers gave the public what the public had been trained to reach for. It's a rare case of a national habit shaping the hardware, rather than the other way round. And that habit was riding on the back of a much bigger British obsession. Number 7. The safety obsession you can see in the holes. The switch never travelled alone. It arrived as part of a whole philosophy of making the socket as hard to hurt yourself on as possible. Look closely at the two power holes on a British socket, and you'll see little shutters blocking them. They stay closed until the longer earth pin on the plug pushes in first and mechanically opens them. That was no accident. When engineers sat down to design the post-war standard, protecting children from poking metal into a live socket was listed as their very first concern, right at the top. Shutters to stop small fingers and stray objects, a fuse in every plug to stop cables catching fire, and a switch on the wall to cut the power on demand. Each feature answers a different fear, and together they turn a simple hole in the wall into a small fortress. The switch is the most visible member of that family, the one you actually touch every day, which is exactly why it never went away. Number 8. The habit that still runs your house. Fast forward to now. Direct current is long gone from British homes. Copper isn't rationed. The original reasons that birthed the switch have mostly faded into history. And yet the switch is everywhere, busier than ever, because modern life gave it a whole new job. Think about how many things you leave plugged in but not running. The kettle, the toaster, the television glowing on standby, the phone charger sitting warm in the wall doing nothing. In a British home, you don't unplug those things. You just flick the switch. Off at the wall, on when you need it. What started as a spark prevention trick from the age of direct current has quietly become the way an entire country manages standby power, saves a little electricity, and feels a small sense of control over the machines in their home. The danger that created the switch disappeared decades ago. The behaviour it trained never did. Every time a British hand reaches out and flicks that little red rocker beside the kettle, it's repeating a safety ritual older than the technology in the room. Most people doing it have no idea why. And that's the strange truth hiding in the wall. That switch isn't really about electricity anymore. It's a fossil of a habit, pressed into plastic and screwed into every room in the country. Born from a war, shaped by a copper shortage, and kept alive by nothing more than the way people learned to behave around a socket a lifetime ago. The wiring changed, the current changed, the danger vanished. But the ritual stayed, because that's what rituals do. They outlive their reasons. So next time you're in a British home and you catch yourself flicking off a socket you were never in any real danger from, remember what you're actually doing. You're obeying a ghost. If you love uncovering the hidden why behind the ordinary objects all around you, subscribe and stick around. There's a strange story behind almost everything you've stopped noticing.